Hey guys, in today's video will be another major tropical update. Definitely talking about Hurricane Delta, which has just been a crazy system to track lately. Honestly, it's just been doing a bunch of things that we didn't expect it to. But before I get more into that, I do want to direct your eyes down to more of the bottom of the screen here to the MDR region of the Atlantic, where the NHC has now tagged another disturbance that has a 0 to 20% chance of formation. I really highly doubt this system will become a named storm though, because even though it has a chance between now and the time it gets to the western area of the MDR, it likely won't become much of any kind of tropical system because it will interact with much stronger upper level winds, and that won't let it strengthen or become much of anything whatsoever after that point, getting towards the middle, the latter part of this upcoming week. But I don't know. We'll just have to continue to monitor this. We'll see what happens, but I really highly doubt this will be much of a threat or anything for anyone. So now just jumping back into Hurricane Delta. Delta, the 5 p.m. advisory has just come in. It's back to being a major hurricane, 115 mile per hour major hurricane, 959 millibars, moving to the northwest at 12 miles per hour. I knew this was going to happen, especially because of how it was looking lately on the satellite imagery over the past few hours. So it's definitely starting to get its act together and become a lot more well-defined, better organized, just all of that. It's a crazy thing. Now, here's the 5 p.m. Advisory forecast cone, the new forecast cone. You can see the NHC is having it being a major hurricane all the way up until just about it makes landfall. So that's very concerning, just like I figured it would. So Southwestern Louisiana especially, but all of Louisiana, of course, make sure you guys are as prepared as possible for what likely will be 115 to 120 mile per hour Cat 3 making landfall there. Of course, that is a good bit weaker than when Laura made landfall. It was 150 mile per hour Category 4 hurricane making landfall. It was a very intense, strong system that brought devastating winds and rain and even some devastating amounts of surge to some areas. But still, this system will also really pack a punch and be quite devastating to you guys. So really hope you guys are as prepared as possible with these crazy times going on during the COVID pandemic. So hopefully you guys are also just making sure you are as safe and healthy as possible and cautious as possible, while also trying to make sure you are as prepared as possible for this system. Now, let's look at the peak surge for Delta, and you can see forecast surge amounts will be up to 7 to 11 feet in some areas, especially in central Louisiana's coastline, in the Vermilion Bay, and just the very central portion of the Louisiana coastline. The southeastern Louisiana coastline will likely see anywhere from 2 to 4 to 3 to 5 feet of storm surge, even 4 to 7 feet of storm surge there. 1 to 3 feet of storm surge is likely to occur for the Mississippi and Alabama coastline. And for Texas, especially the northern coast of Texas, for Houston, Galveston area, Port O'Connor, storm surge amounts will be anywhere from 1 to 3 to 2 to 4 feet of storm surge, even 4 to 7 feet of storm surge there for the Louisiana-Texas border, 5 to 8 feet of storm surge there going in towards the Lake Charles, Cameron, Louisiana area, right where Laura made landfall. So you guys will also be experiencing likely some pretty damaging and dangerous amounts of storm surge. The rainfall forecast, again, if looks like New Orleans and southeastern Louisiana won't see any accumulation of rainfall, which is a good thing since they are forecast to get some storm surge. So New Orleans, you've been in the cone 6 times so far this season and dodged every single bullet with each one of those systems. So you guys have been extremely lucky. It's just been a really just you guys are just thankfully this hurricane season has been so really merciful to you guys. So that's great. But southwestern Louisiana, you guys that got hit by Laura, you guys are definitely not as lucky. Looking like for especially Lake Charles, Cameron, Louisiana, up through a bit of very central Louisiana, looking to get rainfall totals of up towards 6 to 10 inches of rainfall. Yellow, and if you're in the yellow, you'll likely see anywhere from 4 to 6 inches of rainfall. If you're in the greens, you'll see rainfall totals anywhere below 4 inches, like between 1 to 4 inches of rainfall, which would be minor to moderate amounts of rainfall that could cause some flooding. But definitely, if you're in the yellow and orange, especially, you guys will likely see moderate to potentially even some areas major amounts of flooding, especially with the fact that you have a lot of storm surge in your forecast as well. Flash flooding potential, just branching off of that, Moderate risk is extended much farther north, so likely much of the central Louisiana and farther inland Louisiana will likely see flash flooding with that amount of total rainfall and storm surge, especially along the coast for you guys, and Lake Charles, Cameron. You guys really make sure you guys are prepared for all that flooding. If you're in the yellow, you're in a slight risk of flash flooding for pretty much the majority of the rest of Louisiana into the very eastern portion of Texas towards the very eastern coastal portion of Texas, east of Houston and Galveston. And that extends all the way inland through rest of Louisiana, Arkansas, much of Mississippi, and into Tennessee and the very northwestern part of Alabama. And then if you're in the green, you're in a marginal risk of flash flooding. So you guys in the green won't likely see that much flash flooding, but maybe some very isolated pockets of flash flooding. That you guys in New Orleans are included in that marginal risk. You guys shouldn't be too much concerned with any flooding that much, but still make sure you're prepared for any chance that you will see flash flooding, because there is always that chance. Now, let's show you the wind speed probabilities, and you can see pretty much 100% chance of tropical storm force wind probabilities for the western portion, southwestern portion of Louisiana. New Orleans, you'll likely see tropical storm force winds. You guys will have like around 40-50% chance of that. But especially if you're in southwestern Louisiana, of course, central Louisiana, you guys will likely see pretty strong winds for tropical storm force winds. The 58-mile-per-hour wind speed probability is also pretty high, almost 100% chance for you guys in southwestern Louisiana. Hurricane force wind speed probabilities are continuing to go up. As of right now, they're only up towards around 50, 60, 60, 70% chance of hurricane force winds. But as the storm gets closer, you guys will likely see up towards 100% chance of hurricane force winds. Definitely will see that, most likely. Yeah, that's a really concerning look into what the National Hurricane Center's current forecast maps for all of that is being shown. The arrival time for tropical storm force winds is likely to be around early Friday morning, right around the time the really early risers wake up, so around 6, 7, 8 a.m. You guys will likely start to see the tropical storm force winds start to arrive. All right, now let's go to tropical tidbits, and let's show you first why this is now a Category 3 hurricane, and that's because, as you can see with what the Air Force plane in there found a 959 millibar low pressure center within that eye of Delta, and you can see wind speeds. They found knots of up towards between 113 to 137 knots, and so they found reason enough to up it to 115 miles per hour. And the system will likely continue to strengthen, honestly, especially if now I show you the satellite imagery. You'll see what I'm talking about. Really starting to show that eye feature really starting to form with all that really strong convection blowing almost all around the center. The very eastern part of just east of the eye, the strongest convection is still trying to wrap itself fully around that area, but it's definitely doing very well with trying to do that, and I expect that we probably will see it fully wrap around getting into later this evening and tonight. But you can see we're still seeing those negative 90-degree cloud tops, so we're still seeing a very, very intense storm with lots of very tall, strong storms surrounding the center of the system. So it's very, very concerning look, honestly. So that's very, very interesting to take note of. Now, the intensity model guidance, you can see this is the 18Z run, and, they updated, and now 3 models are showing get to Cat 3 status. Already at Cat 3 status, honestly. Majority of the models, I don't know. So, look, once we get to around 24 hours from now, it's making landfall, and will start to really drop off in intensity, of course, and start to dissipate after it makes landfall. And you can see it will likely, I think, make landfall as a Cat 3, I think, honestly. A majority of the models, as of right now, show it making landfall as a Cat 2, but I think it's also pretty likely as well that it may actually make landfall as a 115-mile-per-hour Cat 3. And I think maybe with its this new cycle of it trying to strengthen a bit more, it will likely strengthen up to around 120, 125 miles per hour. So, yeah. This is very, very interesting and very concerning with what the with what the storm's looking like right now and what the National Hurricane Center is finding with all the Air Force and recon planes going in there. Now let's show you what the models are showing for this system, and let's zoom into the South Central U.S. Get a very, very close look into what the GFS model is showing there. And you can see the GFS model is showing the system making landfall is a 973 millibar low pressure center. I think it's going to be much, much stronger than that. Making landfall, I think it will definitely be more around, I'd say, maybe 965 to 970 millibars. So a slightly lower pressure than what the GFS is showing right now. But because as of right now, it's already at 959 millibars and still continuing to strengthen. So and it will probably weaken just slightly right before it makes landfall. So probably the pressure will go up a little bit back into the 960s once it makes landfall. But yeah, you can see that's what the GFS is showing, bringing lots of heavy rainfall rates into southwestern Louisiana and even far inland. You can see those very heavy rainfall rates extend all the way up in towards the Arkansas-Mississippi border. So that's very, very concerning. Now, let's show you what the CMC model is showing for Delta, and you can see also, just like the GFS, showing very, very heavy rainfall rates occurring all the way through all of Louisiana, really, and even into portions of Arkansas and Mississippi. So you guys will definitely want to make sure you are prepared for the potential of a lot of flooding, especially if you live along the coast of southwestern Louisiana, because you also have that added storm surge as well. In fact, actually, I think I forgot to show you. Did I forget to show you? No, I didn't. Showed you the storm surge. You can see you were a storm surge of up to 11 feet, potentially in some areas, even 5 to 8 feet of storm surge for that Cameron, Louisiana, Lake Charles, Louisiana area. So again, very concerning amounts of storm surge for you guys there in coastal and southwestern Louisiana. So it's a big, big problem there. So that's what the CMC is showing, but as well, it's showing a much weaker low pressure center for making landfall, 987 millibars. It's definitely going to be way stronger than that. Making landfall, honestly, it will likely be more towards, again, those like mid to upper 960 millibar range towards 970 millibars making landfall. But again, we'll just have to see. But here's the European model, and the European model is showing the system very, very strong. And you can see as we move forward, it shows it getting down to 950 millibars there, right as it's probably only around, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 miles just south of southwestern Louisiana's coastline. You can see making landfall as around around 970 millibars in pressure. So a very, very intense, very rainy, very powerful system pushing ashore into southwestern Louisiana with all its very high, dangerous amounts of storm surge, heavy rainfall, and strong winds. So very, very concerning look there by the European model. Let's really hope that this European model forecast isn't as accurate as it potentially may be, but definitely looks like there's a high likelihood that we could see this is to make landfall as a pretty strong system, around 970 millibars, as a weaker end Category 3 hurricane. So it's a that's a very big, dangerous, concerning thing to take into account there. Yeah, that's a really, really concerning there. Yeah, again, now let's go to the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season Wikipedia page. And again, we've had a crazy, crazy record-breaking hurricane season, the most active Atlantic hurricane season since 2005. And in fact, this is the second most active Atlantic hurricane season behind 2005. Total of 26 depressions, 25 total storms, 9 hurricanes, 3 major hurricanes. We'll likely beat 2005 in terms of total named storms quite soon. We only need 2 more names to get through Zeta to tie 2005, and then get 1 more to beat 2005. So really, the big countdown is now going down now with when we'll beat 2005 in terms of total named storms. I'm thinking we'll likely be 2005 in terms of total named storms getting towards the end of October. I'd say right before we enter, right at the time we enter November, maybe early November, will be 2005. So we still have a few weeks potentially before we beat 2005 in terms of total named storms, but we definitely could see still a few more named storms happen in October before October's all said and done, because of course we still have a ton of October left, naturally. So as you can see, we've had a total of 146 total fatalities so far this season. Total damage is now at or a little above $26.373 billion in damage. So we've seen a decently damaging hurricane season thus far, especially due to the fact of Laura, Isaias, Teddy. So, well, not really Teddy. More Sally, actually, Sally, and now Delta most likely as well. So, and we've seen also a bunch of other systems create at least a few $1 million in damage. So, in general, we've seen a lot of systems create a decent amount of damage. You can see Sally caused around or maybe a little above $5 billion in damage. Beta caused at or a little above $100 million in damage. Alpha caused somewhere a little above $1 million in damage, and that hit the Iberian Peninsula. You know, the Portugal area. That was a crazy storm that just formed totally out of the blue and really caused a lot of flooding and devastation there in Portugal. And I think for Delta in the end, I think Delta's total damage will end up being somewhere around, I'd say, maybe at least $10 billion in damage. So will likely also be a pretty damaging system. Again, look, we've already gone through the fourth name on the Greek alphabet list, Delta. Next name on the Greek alphabet list is Epsilon. That's the name list. The next name we'll be expecting for whatever next travel system will be named. And then Zeta. That's the name that we got to in 2005. I think we'll definitely get through maybe even Iota, get a total of 9 named Greek alphabet storms. So the potential is quite high, again, to beat 2005 in terms of total named storms. Maybe even get even a decent bit further into the Greek alphabet list than we did in 2005. So crazy season for sure. Really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, by the way, hopefully you found it enjoyable, informative. And if you did, please consider liking the video, commenting on the video. If you're a first-time viewer and you like what you saw in today's video, I do tons of this kind of tropical content on my YouTube channel, so please consider subscribing to the channel if you like this kind of content. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.